What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the Act 3, Chapter 5, Part 1, Lufenia Plus Fight. So if you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe. It does help the channel guys, and I really do appreciate it. And without further ado, let's start this video. So we'll start this video off as always in how you're gonna deal with the Lufenia orb, which appears at the start of the battle and will not disappear. You get +8 Lufenia orb counters when there is a debuff or a debuffing effect that has a stack. It has to have 2 or more stacks when the enemy takes a turn. So there are a few characters that have this sort of effect, which are Fran, Jigren, you got Kadaj, you got Kurosame, which is a really nice cool character, and Jack as well have these stacking debuffs. Then you've got Sync and X-Death as well. Alright guys, now let's move on how this fight works. Now first and foremost, it has a recast ability. Now depending on what HP it has left will depend on what kind of recast ability you are going to be taking. When it has more than 50% of its HP, it will use an AoE Brave plus HP attack. When it has less than 50%, it will be a Brave plus HP attack, which is a single target, and it will also ignore any Brave or HP damage nullification. Now, I did read that it will usually target the lowest HP character, so you can take advantage of this. I'm not 100% sure since I didn't really test this out, but go ahead and let me know down in the comments below if this is true or not. I will also, as always, leave a link on all the resources that I use for this video in the comments, not in the comment section, in the description below. And moving on, basically the boss will use arm swing every 3 turns. Now what this usually does, it will just refill its recast gauge immediately. But around this time, you probably would expect the recast gauge to be almost filled anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. The boss can also resummon the ad, and it can also buff it with frame buffs. Now the boss will also get extra defense if you don't kill the ad. You can tell this with a red aura. Unfortunately, I don't have a video proof of this, but it is there. The boss also cannot be knocked back. Alright, so after knowing all this information regarding this fight, how are you going to deal with this fight? First and foremost, I think using a tank really helps out. You don't really need it, but I would highly suggest something along the lines. This is going to be extremely useful when the recast ability turns into a single target. However, you still have to be careful because it does hit by a lot. There are a few ways, of course, to reduce or nullify the damage, even though it says nullify all HP Brave damage and stuff like that. The best way to do this is by using a debuff. Setzer's debuff, in fact. He is still a valuable character all the way up to this point. So if you believed in me when I said Setzer is going to make your life so much easier in these Lufenia Plus fights, then this is another fact in that matter. So if you are planning to bring a tank, like maybe use Oron or something along the lines, that tanks that have last stand are probably the best ones to use, because if for some reason, you know, it just hits too much, at least they will be able to survive that attack with their last stand, and therefore you can heal them back up. You can also use calls to increase your HP damage and even increase your brave gains. If you have Kate Sith as your call, that is a pretty good call to bring. And of course, you know, Kurosame is probably the first and foremost call ability that most people will think of, because it deals with the Lufenia orb and increases your damage overall as well. Now, something that I haven't really mentioned in my previous videos is BT plus effects are going to really start, you know, you're going to start feeling it if you don't have any BT effects, especially later down in the fights. This is true in previous fights as well, but I haven't really mentioned it, thinking that, you know, most people will probably have it. There are some cases where you can just beat this with, you know, LDs, but those BT plus effects, they do really matter later down the track, and it is an unfortunate thing, but it is the power creep of a gacha game. Alright, now let's talk about characters that you may want to bring. Again, this is something that I feel like most characters can be brought here, especially in this fight. You can really just deal with the Lufenia orb using call abilities. So there are a lot of characters that you can bring around this time, and I cannot list them all, but you know, if you have synergy characters, bring them along. And for the call characters, like I mentioned, you can use call to deal with the Lufenia orb, like using Jack, Kurosame, X-Death. You've got Sync and Fran as well. There are an abundance of characters that can apply a debuff or a stacking debuff, and I suppose for me, one of the most famous ones is obviously going to be Kurosame and Jack. And for some reason in my head, I have Fran up there as well. Whenever I think of stacking debuffs, I think of Fran. Alright guys, now let's talk about some party compositions. The first one I have for you guys here is Jegrin, Core, and Lena, with a call team Kurosame, Jack, and X-Death, Setzer for the support, and Odin for the summon. So this one is going to be relying a lot on the Setzer freeze debuff, but I believe you can survive the single target attacks if you can apply enough debuff. Like X-Death is very important, and of course not getting broken is an important thing as well. But overall, I think using Setzer in the second half of the fight is definitely something you may want to consider, and obviously you are limited to the number of turns Setzer has. Just make sure you get that freeze debuff up there as much as possible. For the summon, I went with Odin, but you can probably switch this up depending on your taste. Now the next one I have for you guys is going to be Ace, Cloud of Darkness, and Bards with a cold team of the Huge. And you've got Cloud of Darkness for support and Shiva for the summon. Now you are going to take advantage of Bard's BT plus effect here, and they are going to be your main source of brave and overall damage. Now mind you, Cloud of Darkness and Ace will also have their BT in this case, so they aren't going to hit that low. So do consider maybe switching one of them with another support character if you want to. Now the last team I have for you guys is going to take advantage of the tank. Oron is the choice with his last stand. Porom as well has last stand just in case, and of course you've got Jack for your damage. The call team is going to consist of Kate Sith, Kurosame, and Jack. The support, I kind of went with Jet again, but you can again switch this out. There's maybe X-Death is a good option if you want to reduce the amount of damage you are going to be taking. I got Shiva for the summon, but again you can change this up as well. Alright guys, so we are finally at the end of this video, and of course I'll give you guys my final thoughts regarding this fight. Now overall, I didn't think this fight was all that hard when I did this in JP. Now, mind you, I kind of went with a Setzer team composition here, and I got Jet as well. And basically, I kind of killed it as fast as I can. Again, something that I actually didn't mention here is if you have that stacking debuff and you hit an HP threshold, which is less than 80 and 50%, it will increase the Lufenia orb. So you can technically, like, you know, burst your way through and increase the Lufenia orb. Now, is it something that I would suggest? Probably not. It's probably safer to actually do like let the boss have a turn with that stacking debuff. But if you are feeling adventurous and you feel you can do it, especially if you have Setzer, since you're doing a lot of damage all the time, then it is something that you may want to consider. I actually forgot to put that in. I do apologize, but at least I mentioned it here, and I think it's a bit too late for me to re-edit it back in there, trying to put it in there now that I'm talking about it here. So in any case, this fight is okay-ish for me. I think it's around the normal category for me. I didn't find it too hard or too easy. I just find it like okay, it's fine. You can summon your minions. I have to kill that minion again. That is pretty annoying. And I do believe some people might have used like a delay tactic with Cloud of Darkness as well. But yeah, that's at your own risk, of course, since the boss does have to take a turn. This is something that you may want to just, you know, not go over the board with. In any case, that is that. And yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it if you can share this video as well with other DFFO players who are struggling to beat their first Lufenia or Lufenia Plus fight. And hopefully this video helps them and they can share this with other players as well. Now, one thing before I do go is this is probably, or it might be, my last video for the year. I'm not exactly sure how my time is going to be, because I am going to be on night shift after Christmas, so that limits my editing prowess, and of course New Year's celebrations and stuff like that. So if this is the last, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If not, I will make that video and wish you another Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or maybe just a Happy New Year in that case. Anyway, follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Monchkinz Gaming. Leave down in the comments below your teams, or if I miss anything, please leave it all down in the comments below. This is Monchkinz logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.